When we look at the way time is recorded in the Bible, we have to remember that they're not using the same calendar as we use. They're not necessarily counting the months of the year or the hours of the day the way we count them. And so we have to be very careful. And when I worked on this chronology, I had to know all about ancient calendars. They varied from place to place and time to time. So, for instance, in the Old Testament, you'll read about the first month or the 11th month or the 10th month. The first month is not January in the Old Testament. The first month actually occurs in spring, unless they're talking about the regnal years of kings. The kings of Judah counted their years from fall, 6 months offset from the sacred calendar of Israel, which began in the spring. So all of these things you have to, when you read the Bible, you have to understand they're not using our terms. When you get to the New Testament, sometimes people are confused with especially the Passion Week, where we get some technical terms from the first century that people read and oftentimes misunderstand. So for instance, you read that it was the day of the preparation of the Sabbath. What does that mean? Well, day of preparation was a technical term among first century Jews for the day before the Sabbath, the day you prepared everything for yourself because on the Sabbath you could not work. So it basically meant in our term Fridays. That's their way kind of saying Friday. You read about Passover. Passover had two meanings among first century Jews. So it could mean the feast day of Passover, which is always the 14th day of the first month of their year, or it could include the 7 days that followed, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And sometimes they would use Passover to mean all 8 days. So depending on where you're reading, you have to understand, do they mean the day of Passover, or do they mean the 8-day period that includes Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread? You have to understand time in the Gospels. So John apparently uses Roman time, which is the same as our time. Our time is a legacy of the Romans. We begin counting at midnight. And so the first hour of the morning, would be beginning at 12 o'clock at midnight. However, apparently the other three Gospels use Jewish time, where the first hour began basically at sunrise, let's say 6 o'clock. So you have an apparent disagreement between John and the Synoptic Gospels of what Jesus did on the cross at particular times, because they'll give this was this hour, but in the Synoptic Gospels they'll say it was that hour. But when you realize that they're offset by 6 hours, that all works itself out. So again, we can't overlay our modern understanding of time issues when we're reading the Bible. We have to understand what did they mean in their day, not what does it apparently mean to us in our day.